definitely a pretty rough early on for it, but yeah, it is an early morning, but for the EU players, very conveniently timed, good for them. And of course, if you guys as well, today, I mean, this is this EU event going on today, and it's kind of nice because the Go4 NA Cups end up happening right after the GG EU Cup yesterday, and today the EU Go4s happen right now, as you guys are watching it, of course, but after this is, of course, the GG NA Weekly, so you guys can definitely check out lots of Overwatch today. There's plenty of stuff to be watching to keep up with the scene and keep up with what's going on. But if you want to go ahead and get the introduction started with Mixx, here, Scribe, I will go ahead and finish up the titles, and we can get right into this match.
Yeah, we have Mete on Zarya, Kratos Digger on Lucio, Cabal on Zenyatta, Mesomorphous on Reinhardt, Ube on Genji, and then Clanton on McCree.
And for CrusuhDude, as they've always wanted me to make sure I get it right, so got a dude in there. We have Era going to be picking up the Reinhardt. We have the Rixer, who's yet to pick up a hero. Jonah is going to be picking up the McCree. We have Traub over here on a Mercy. Hypoc, you're going to be picking up a Hanzo, though I imagine he might change that. We'll see. It can work on this map on offense, and Draft is going to be picking up a Zarya. All of those picks could work, so we'll see if the Hanzo ends up happening. And, you know, Hanzo, your opinion on Hanzo or the new patch? Now, of course, there's always the, you know, Hanzo's just an arrow spam hero. It's not fun to play against, but at the same time, it's not like the hero doesn't take skill to actually operate in a high-level game, in my opinion. I mean, you still have to be able to predict your arrows and such.
Yeah, of course. And honestly, this is something I'll take away from it is Hanzo has the opportunity to allow a lot of really good spam into common hiding places, and the fact that you can kind of randomly headshot is always pretty cool, but he's so good at clearing choke goals because of his ultimate. I think his ultimate almost forces you to let go of a specific area, and your team has so much opportunity and so much room to follow up. I think in general he's good for having, you know, the line of sight, so you don't have to always depend on Widow ultimate.
Well, charge out from the defensive Reinhardt. Mesomorphous going in very aggressive as the rest of his team is, and Clanton is going to get a double kill off the back of it. I was about to say I wasn't checking the kill feed. That was just very awkward from him. Not a good play, but no. When you have Clanton on your backside, it doesn't really matter. Set up opportunities for your team, even if it costs you your life. If you trade 2 for 1, very clean. Ubi not unnecessarily needing to die there, but he does, and the spam continues here from Hypoc as he wants to hit those headshots ideally and get that Dragon Strike up, which he is very close to.
Yeah, honestly, having 77% is not a bad thing necessarily right now. He can honestly push through relatively quickly. Gets taken out by Ubi, which is super unfortunate because he was almost at that Dragon Strike range, and now they're being held at this choke point. I think they're still waiting. I think, man, he's back. Okay, luckily. So they do have this 6th member, and they're going to be slow pushing this right now. Honestly, their strategy is basically, hey, we either wait for a pick, wait for, you know, like Hypo C to kind of get something, and just, you know, get a pick and then engage on that. Maybe they can start moving towards the left side, which they're starting to do right now, get into that pincer position and try to make the defense react to 2 angles at once.
Well, Ubi in the background going to end up taking out Hypoc, and Mesomorphous as well helping out. This is just absolutely devastating. As was said earlier in the cast, I believe it was yesterday, or if not for the E-League, but ZP emphasizing the power of a hammer and a sword in combination together. Well, you don't even need the sword in this case. Shurikens and a hammer is plenty enough, and a 4K from Mesomorphous by the end of it, and the defense now sitting very comfortable on ultimates, but that doesn't mean the offense isn't either.
Yeah, the offense actually has a relatively good amount of ultimates, and that drag, that, oh man, Jesus, well, I'm blanking on all that right now, but the Hanzo ultimate is still up right now. It's a great opportunity to clear the site. They're playing super defensive, trying to kite back a lot of this damage, but man, the defense is holding so well. Hypo C is the only one.
This guy just lit up. His team was falling apart around him, and he's like, no, I am not going to lose this game. Turns around, gets a flick headshot onto the Mercy, and they end up losing another hero as well. I mean, I believe it was it was the Lucio or the Zenyatta, but either way, huge kills from Hypoc. He has that Dragon Strike available, and if they can set it up well enough, they can get something done. But you know, Transcendence counters that out pretty well, so it'll be interesting.
Great Graviton starts to trap the offense right now. You know, drop the beat, Oz is defensive to follow up and just keep that damage rolling. This is not a great look from the offense. That Transcendence, oh man, I don't know if that was a great decision to pop it, but it does res everyone. But Clanton immediately takes advantage of that instant res to take down everyone, shooting through the Transcendence. And man, this is not exactly how you want it to go. I don't know why Hypoc still has his ultimate, hasn't used it yet. He needs to use it to clear or at least get 2 picks or something like that. But maybe he's just waiting for the rep to, you know, land that Graviton Surge and get that Wombo combo out, because I think that would be super, super effective. But they're running out of time. They have less than 1 minute left, and this first point looks pretty solid to hold.
To be frank, to your point, he could have probably already Dragon Strike twice, the second one being the combo with the Graviton Surge now, but they do need to get something done with that. Graviton Surge is going to go out, and they are going to use the Dragon Strike, but they only get 1. Mesomorphous will go down. Ubi ends up taking out Trobe, and Ubi ends up getting himself a double kill. This is a Dragon Blade. Just saw his ultimate charge at 0. He gets himself a triple kill, and that will be a cleanup of this offense. Very, very clean play coming out from the side of Mixx here, as it is looking a bit rough, to say the least, here for CrusuhDude, as they are down. They might be bleeding here. They're pushing forward, trying to get forward. Every single one of them charging to try to get to the point. 2 seconds remain, but it is just open season for the defenses. All of the members have to run by defensive members just dying. Offense not able to get there, and that will be the first point hold. We go on to the next offense here in Scribe. I mean, I have to agree with you. At the end of the day, wasting ultimate sucks. But at the same time, not using your ultimate for a certain period of time means you have wasted an entire ultimate, because you could have got another one up.
Yeah, that's kind of the frustrating thing, was that the main reason why they were struggling was that they couldn't clear this. They just couldn't open up an opportunity, but they were just pushing so slowly through that entrance. I mean, literally just fire it off. Like, figure out where they could possibly be fired up and have your team explode off Lucio and immediately try to follow up. Or I think they're actually running Zenyatta, Mercy in that instance, so they actually did not have that Lucio boost onto the site, so maybe that's particularly why they were approaching very slowly, but they were just getting punished. Ubi was using the fact that they were pushing very slowly to basically maximize on the fact that he could just target the backline, get resets, and put out more consistent damage, and that's where, you know, Genji really strives. If your team is playing slowly, they get taken on. He generates an ultimate percentage using that chip shots with the shurikens, and the moment he's able to execute with the Dragon Blade and take out your entire backline, that's not a great look for you. And I still don't agree with the use of the Mercy on that offensive point. I think Lucio honestly would have been the better choice. It just gives you more mobility, lets you organize yourself into better positions around the point.
Yeah, you know, I agree with that, definitely. Especially, I mean, at least in a world where you're going to not run a fair. I mean, if you're going to run a fair, I agree with Mercy. Lucio could be pretty good. You can go ahead and drop the Zen, but again, if you look at the logic that we're painting right now, it just feels like there is a little bit of all-overness with the lineup coming out from CrusuhDude. They're running Mercy because they're running Mercy, it basically feels like right now. They're not running Mercy for a purpose. We'll see if they can get it worked out here, though, as they are going to be set up on the defense and the offense here. I imagine Clatton will be switching, and yes, he'll be going over to a Tracer. So a full dive comp here coming out Scribe. The offense not going to be wasting any opportunities here.
Yeah, and they need to capitalize this. And the fact is, there's a huge target right now. They can take down the Mercy very early on in this fight. This could be so good for them.
Cabal dropped super low early on, actually. Almost ended up going down. I think that was a Fire Strike. Jonah, actually. He's at a higher ult charge. It must have been him landing some shots, but there he ends up going down to Mesomorphous, and Ubi takes out the Rixer Hypoc, the only one to get trades, and he needs to light up big time right now, but it's not enough. Not nearly. As both Clanton and Ubi will clean it up and push it out, and that'll be the first take of the point, and the side CrusuhDude is going to have to get to the blackboard, get to the learning board, get to the drawing board here, because they have a lot to figure out on this next map. This did not go well for them at all.
Oh man, they just got punished, and that's what happens, man. When you run, oh god, it's so frustrating to look and see stuff like that, because that dive comp is expected. You shouldn't expect that dive comp. Play safer, try to kite back into underneath Cafe, use that little closed area to kind of punish them. But the main part is they got split up. Now there's not enough split attention, and honestly, this is part that worries me a little bit. I don't think Mercy's a great choice here, mainly because she can't really do much in the fact she can't add an offensive aspect to her game. I mean, her blaster's all right, I guess. You're talking about reload speed, but it just doesn't do nearly enough damage. I would have liked to see Zen there, and I think that eventually you have to think, like, we might not have time to get up the res, right? I mean, the moment that they are able to take the point, the res isn't going to be up after the first push, maybe up to the second push even. So that was something that I think they could have thought about on their end, maybe swap that out for like a Zenyatta or like an Ana or something that could provide more offensive backing for the rest of the team. But, you know, that's unfortunate. It's kind of how the cookie crumbles when, you know, the opponent team is able to execute on you.
Yeah, no, we're very well put, and especially with the logic of reading into the situation. As a team, you really have to be looking for that. You have to be looking for those. The way I look about it is like data points in some respect, but it's a line of logic that you need to extract from the enemy team. What do they want to do? Why do they want to do it? And if you can answer those two questions, you can put yourself in a better position. And I mean, you walked us through it. They only need to take the first point. There's no longevity to their setup. They just need it. So why not run a full engaged comp to take that first point? Because that's all that matters. And if you walk through that logic as a team, you can build your defensive setup a lot better. And that's kind of the job of the defense and of the play caller in that respect, I guess, is to be able to read into the game effectively and say, this should be what they do because this makes the most sense. They could always do something that doesn't make sense, but if you put yourself in a position to deal with what is in theory the best against you, then the next best option shouldn't work as well, in that respect. But just not at all reading the situation properly. And again, I really have to emphasize what you say because it's bugging me a little bit. I feel like they're picking Mercy to pick Mercy, and they really do need to think about picking up a Pharah. So we'll see here, though, as it is going to be the side of Mixx possibly picking up the first Pharmacy, and would be interesting considering the other team really playing that Mercy a lot. Traub really maybe just liking Mercy a lot, feeling very comfortable on it.
I mean, honestly, okay, so this is kind of, I can see where for Hollywood and Kings Row, arguably you want the Mercy because Symmetra isn't a super great option just because she doesn't provide any healing, and you kind of need your good healing mechanic to out-sustain a lot more. So I do understand, and this is all, I'll say this again, so I do understand why they pick Mercy. Just Mercy having the res is so game-breaking, and now that she does 20% more healing, I think people are starting to look at her as a more viable option because, Lucio isn't super pick, especially on the defense where you're not going to be accelerating anyway, right? So you don't want to pick Ana on defense either, so you end up picking Mercy, and it makes sense. It's just that they need to stay alive. They need to kite back. The entire point of having a Mercy team, you're not going to be engaging super hard. You're literally going to be looking for picks, and hopefully they take that approach.
I feel like this is a no-respect lineup coming out of the side of Mixx, not in the sense that they're trying to say you guys suck, get out of our game, but in the sense that they're saying that we don't feel like you guys can properly respond to our stock comp, so we're going to play something really, really pocket pick here. They have a double projectile explosive, they have the hit scan, and they're even running a Hanzo. Just pure pick as they continue to push forward, and the defense, it just doesn't feel like they're ready for this. They're running into this. They're getting picked off one by one. Mesomorphous, nonetheless, is the one lighting up the kill feed, and that will be a take of the first point. I seriously doubt the defense will have any position to stabilize and hold this here. And that was off of the back of dealing with a Mei. And, if you're going to pick a comp to deal with a Mei, a pick comp is usually the best because you're not going to want to be aggressively pushing in, and you're not going to put yourself in positions to get subsectioned by that wall.
Yeah, honestly, the part that's kind of sucked about that Mei competition is I don't think they realized what was on there. They kind of just let them roll, and this is, oh man, that's got to be unlucky getting pulled out of the sky like that. But that's why, I mean, running a Mei means once you put down the wall, you had to have support from your team in order to kind of back them up, provide the damage, and honestly pick off the people who are being caught out. But they just weren't able to do that, and they weren't able to convert. But the defense has a good hold right now, but it's still fine from the side of the offense as that escort is super slow to leave that garage, so they still have time to regain their ground.
And they did end up getting those 2 kills, like you said, and regaining that ground. The question is, how long can they hold it? The overlay should be fixed, guys, so do let me know if it needs more fixing, as I don't think I messed up anything. But Hypoc over here on the Reaper, actually, the offense getting a lot of ground here, but the Resurrection is available. Traub's going to go ahead and pull it out. Now Hypoc in a pretty good position to get a lot of damage on Clan, and Mete, though, getting a pick each. It was actually before the Resurrection. Well, this is weird. They have one hero down main, the offense, and then they have the rest on the payload. Try to give you guys a little bit of a scene there, as that is going to be the Genji. And you notice how that pulled back all of the defense. That's the goal of the Genji. That's the impact of that kind of playing, that kind of hero, is you can create such a huge discrepancy in the direction of threats and force the enemy team to really overcommit to dealing with you. And it looks like it's working out so far, as the offense is just pushing and slowly forward with their few members. And then the defense, well, they're having to look forward, they're having to look back, they're having to deal with both simultaneous threats that are presented to them.
Yeah, man. Honestly, this offensive comp is such a huge juggernaut composition right now. You have Kratos and you have Cabal basically getting his ultimate up like every minute almost, it almost feels, and he's basically putting on high priority targets. Oh, great Dragon Strike taking out the Jonah, taking out the, oh man, taking out Era as well. Putting setting up in a really great position. That Earth Shatter takes down some targets, but not nearly enough to stop the offense.
It's all on IPOC here. He does have one teammate to help him out, and Mete, well, he's just... Mete, you should be threatening the life here because they could just wait to kill you. They will go ahead and threaten. Oh no, Ubi's going to actually get the kill. Screw threatening the lives. He's going to come in with the Dragon Blade, clean up the last two, and take the point. Ubi handed the point on a silver platter. I don't even know what to say there. That's... Whew.
That's gotta suck when you're the only one pushing the payload. But besides that, I mean, looking at the defense right now, they do have a lot of options to put this off, and the offense is doing something very. I mean, this composition they're running is super weird in the fact that they don't have any super consistent DPS dealers. Oh man, and Ube goes down, Mesomorphous goes down as well, and they should just kite back, reset. That's fine. You don't have to take the shots. Just take pot shots, gain ultimates. Exactly what they're doing right now. Don't feel this out and don't get picked.
Oh, Kratos is going to go ahead and use that. This going to kill himself. The Whip Tire does get the kill onto the Reaper, but the defense has stabilized here. But the problem is that they are moving around the corner with the payload. You see the payload on this corner. It's basically at the exit of U-Room, as we are going to have a Deadeye channeled out by Jonah, trying to look for those kills. None going to be successful, and Dreft gets left in the background. He could be cleaned up here, and with that kill plus the boost, they could push forward. The Ricks are going to go ahead and channel the Transcendence, perceiving them being under a big threat, but it might be too early as the charge does come forward. But there's the Dragon Strike. No, Ubi Mesomorphous getting 2 kills, and the defense might have made a few critical mistakes here. The Resurrection, though, goes ahead and brings them back up, and that might just give them the opportunity to fight this out. Jonah gets a kill on Clanton in the background, and they're continuing to push forward. 5 members alive, but Mesomorphous takes out Era. Dreft is going to fall as well, and if Ubi with his charged up Dragon Blade, he's also Nanostim. This is the most terrifying thing in the game. It might be a wee bit of overkill, but I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, securing a push on your payload matters more than whether or not it was overkill, and the defense also only down to 1 ult.
Man, how good is Cabal right now? Cabal, I think, hits like a boost every minute, which basically means you have to account for a Juggernaut or something existing in the current composition, and he has so many options to use as well. Right now, Ube has to stay alive. That Earth Shatter catches out a decent amount of people, enough to push back the defense right now. Mezzamine trying to capitalize on the Graviton Surge, just trying to get some damage, and honestly, he knows he's dead, so he might as well just get some ultimate charge out of it. But they push back the push, and right now the offense has a little opportunity to reset. Ubi's at 15%. Kratos is has ultimate right now. Cabal has ultimate as well, so there's a lot of options to pick. You might as well wait for the Juggernaut and maybe for Mezzo's ultimate Earth Shatter to capitalize.
Yeah, no, they're probably going to need to build up a little bit, but they do have the advantage for now. Transcendence is decent, but it's only good in response to things or with setup with another ultimate, maybe a Dragon Blade, but just not really anything there for the defense to work with. As they're going to push in here. We're on Dreft as he's trying to get the shock onto multiple targets. Look for him to get that big lead, but we want to find Clanton as we switch to him, and we hear nothing but dinks. It's one of the most satisfying noise in the game when you find the tank's head as a tracer, and all you hear is a roll of dinks as every single shot is piled into that critical spot. And it looks like they are going to be able to take this. Clanton, he's setting up over here to the side to go ahead and deal with the Reinhardt. We'll get the pulse bomb on him. Does a fair bit of damage. Ubi is going to take out the Rixer. And with Mesomorphous, of course, taking out that opposite Reinhardt right at the end there. That should be the end of the map here. The defense shouldn't have much opportunity to go ahead and stabilize here. They should go ahead and lose it. They didn't switch to a stall comp quick enough. They're not going to be able to bleed off more time. So 136 will be the remaining time if we get to another set of pushes. But now is the defense. And of course, the offense. It was the first offense, so a little bit more. I like to agree with what you said earlier. When it's Overwatch, it's a game of the onus being on the offense and figuring it out, so it will be up to the side of CrusuhDude to figure out what they're going to get done. But they do have, of course, the whole time it is their first push. And, it didn't look so bad on their defense compared to the way Hollywood went, to be frank.
Yeah, they did manage to hold out a lot more, but a lot of that could honestly put in the fact that the offense was honestly running a really weird composition that they kind of stepped through the entire way. And I think it worked in the aspect where I think it accomplished what it needed to do. I think it was hitting all its win conditions. I just think, they need to optimize that composition a little better for the future. But it honestly did not look terrible. And what I'll say is this, is that they are probably, if they continue with kind of what they have right now, or they're running something a little different with that Hanzo and of course that Roadhog, I think they can potentially get a catch out very early on in the game and use that to capitalize and set momentum for the rest of the map. A lot of this first map is about finding someone out of position, really like picking them off. And if you're running that that Roadhog, what better way to do it, right? Hook onto a squishy target, capitalize them down, and then ready it's a 6v5.
You know, and honestly, 3-3 could just be pulled out here. I mean, it should be a strat that pretty much every team has practiced a little bit at this point. But again, I want to emphasize you can run the Roadhog in that package like you're talking about. And if you can get that Roadhog in a great position because he's Zarya bubbled, there's a Reinhardt in front of him, there's a Winston initiating whatever package you choose to run, it can just be terrifying to deal with. And you look at the defense here, they really lack damage. So if we see a 3-3 coming out, it could go very horrible. We'll see what Hypoc goes with. It will be a 3-2. No, just a 2-2-2. So standard composition here. Defense should be all right as far as their composition goes. But I would really like to see the side of Mixx identify the situation and CrusuhDude identify the situation and play 3-3 here.
Oh man, they tried checking in. They just did not check enough. Jonas thinks going to go down super early, and so is Era, I think. So man, that's a huge catch around. That's exactly what you're supposed to use Mei for. Your team's supposed to immediately get the follow-up, and that's not something you saw on the flip side of all that. They did not just follow up against that Mei, but now they cut him off, and now they're basically saying, well, you have to wait until your team regroups again, and who knows, by that time Mei could have another wall-up.
Definitely going to have another wall-up. Unfortunately, this short cooldown, very, very short. One thing that kind of becomes clear when you play against Mei, you know, more and more in matches, it's just annoying. It's like, oh, she used wall, it's not going to be up. Oh, and guess what? It's going to be up. Mei, very short cooldown. It's her ice block. We'll see if they can exploit it on her, but this defense is just looking so good right now, Scribe. They are playing it very well, and like you said, everything that they need to be doing, they are. It's just a question of whether or not the offense, I mean, do you think, I originally, I'm going to go back on what I said. I felt like the defense had a very awkward lineup. They really lack damage. They don't really have that much synergy in a lot of my opinion. In my opinion, they kind of all in and one towards the McCree for some respects, but the offense feels even more lackluster now if you look at what they're dealing with.
Yeah, and I mean, they are taking the correct approach. They're trying to go on the ledge, trying to get into the sneaky way back onto the site, which is exactly how you avoid the Mei. But right at this point, there's so many ultimates on the defense. Like, what do you do? Well,
look at Traub. He's going to get a 4-man resurrection, but unfortunately didn't get the res on the last member, and that's just going to be an Earth Shatter after the res. Team kill. Clean play. And this is going to be Mixx dominating right now and definitely getting a very, very, very strong start to this defense. And I definitely have to agree with what's being said in chat. This is definitely enjoyable to watch some non-meta compositions, but I will say, guys, get used to it because this patch, if anything of what I've seen in scrims that I've watched, is a very, very experimental patch.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much ability. Hanzo itself is right doing it, but man, that Mei wall, great job, cuts off initial line of sight, but he gets pulled in, which is not something you want to see. Look at the Transcendence is able to buy some more time for the defense to hopefully stall out the fight. The defense needs to hit a great Graviton Surge, which is exactly what they did. And
then just come in the back, Mete, able to just cleave through everyone. Klatten, of course, did get one of those kills, but it was Mete that did most of that damage, setting himself up, but Zarya can be her own follow-up, and especially when they can't afford to turn, because there's a Deadeye in front of you. What are you going to deal with, the Zarya or the Deadeye?
Yeah, and it's a very easy option. Oh, Hypoc takes down Clayton, which is a great pick, and they can engage on this. If they engage right now, get another pick with the Roadhog, I think they can really win this game.
I'd like to see the Dragon Strike here. They don't have the setup to get, you know, a better one, a valuable, but he doesn't pull the trigger. A Hypoc, unfortunately, going back, if he goes back and watches these VODs, whether or not he listens to us is another question, but it's pretty apparent just waiting too long to use those Dragon Strikes. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but I was on his line of view. He had one in that back left cubby that leads to Archway. He could have gotten a Dragon Strike through, and the team could have pushed on a point and maybe got a tick just from the Dragon Strike.
Yeah, and I agree. This is just a little frustrating because everything the office is trying just getting countered. That Graviton, so they look like they were in such a great position, and they, that might be a little... I mean, that does clear the site, and it does do what they want to do, but it doesn't take anyone out. It doesn't get any picks right now, so it's still in a relatively negative situation. They need to win, and Mete takes down Del Rixer, so Mete takes down Hypoc, so that's really bad. In that Blizzard, oh man, great placement right there. Zoning off the Reinhardt, who has to turn around to put up a shield to prevent any more damage from there, but besides that, man, the defense has had all the answers here, and that's how you play a Mei composition. If you want to ask, you know, I think there are a lot of great Mei teams coming up. I think that's definitely one of the best ones right there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Flayer's another one to really look out for, but this should be a first point Hoyt at this rate. It is going to be overtime. Maybe they can get something going right now. It would definitely be a moment, the finest hour for them, as they are backs up against the wall. The cliff of defeat looms over. CrusuhDude, as they need to get onto the point. They need to take it. Overtime is taking over. If they don't get onto the point, they will lose it. But it looks like Jonah is going to have his Lucio to back him up and be able to get on the point. They're going to secure the first tick. They've secured the second tick. There is going to be the Blizzard, and the Mei will have the block available, I believe, in just a second. Ubi, no, doesn't have the block available and will end up going down. The point is continuing to tick down. Clive gets himself a double kill. He gets the triple kill, and it's him and Traub. Traub is end up surviving as his teammates come and back him up. The Lucio of the defense. Kratos Digga staying alive for way longer than he probably should have. And whether or not this point, it still isn't flipped over. The defense, they're coming back to try to hold on, and the offense needs to rally together. They cannot afford to lose the point at any second now, and that is going to be it. 2-0. Mixx take the map, and Scribe. My heart just sunk a little bit there for CrusuhDude. You could feel they were so close to securing that first point and giving themselves another chance in this series and continuing to play on.
How did Kratos live for that long?
I don't know.
Was he just?
I don't know.
He was 1v3 and all. And this is the best part, is that I was looking, I was like, oh man, they lost that first. I was trying to see like who was rezzing next. Mesomorphous was so far away from that point, but the fact he was able to survive, allow him to get onto the point, and then that earth shattered. Essentially, honestly, won them the game. And great Mercy ults. I love seeing Mercy, like quality Mercy ults. It looks kind of stupid because the Mercy will 100% of the time be hiding somewhere, not doing anything, and then goes in and just reses like 4 or 5 people and is able to continue that fight. But man, that was so close at the end, and it just hurts, man. It hurts that like I guarantee every player is kind of feeling like it was their responsibility to kill that Lucio, because if they kill that Lucio, I honestly think that that point was there, that I can't see anyone else coming back from that or retaking it. So honestly, it's really good, but we got to emphasize how good that comp worked. Honestly, it's like Hypoc, just a great play overall, I think, but honestly, just held on too long to those Hanzo ultimates. I just feel like, I mean, he did that last one that he used. It's kind of a good example about how to push off the point, and exactly that. It just literally shot through, and he gave his team room to move in and created space for them. So great positive on there. I think he definitely knows how to play. It's just a matter of, it sucks, right? Because you never want to throw out an ultimate and have no return on its value. Right. That's like the worst feeling you have.
It's the officials jitters is what I'll call it, because it's not lands, but they are officials. They're important. And kind of what I get at is like, it's easy to say, just don't worry about that stuff. Just play your game. But at the end of the day, when you're playing for this kind of event, right, it isn't the biggest one. It's still 150 euro. It's still a big deal getting to the finals, making it all the way there. But not losing is so like important to these players that they play not to lose. That he'll save that ultimate for that one opportunity, that one chance. And when you play not to lose, you're no longer seizing the opportunity to win. And that's kind of that balance, right? It's hard because you almost need to play risky, because that's what playing to win is making risks and making those plays to buy your team the chance to win the game. But at the same time, if they fail, well, then you lose the game. But, I go back, if you never make those plays, then it's really up to the other team whether or not you win the game. And that's not, you never want to give the other team the choice and whether or not they want to win or not.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of like a weird moment, right? Because I feel like Hanzo is in the same position that like McCree was, where it takes a while to adapt, but people start getting used to using McCree ultimate just to zone and not really use it for its full value. And sure, I think the reason why is because with McCree you used to save 50% on the ultimate, so you weren't really committing that much. Whereas with Hanzo, you definitely expend your ultimate a lot more by shooting like a shot just to zone. So I actually think honestly using it to zone and using it to allow your team the ability to move in is actually a really smart option. I just think you need to get a pick, honestly, and that might be something that could have been worked better on. But I mean, I appreciate the effort they put in. I think they were trying something new, and I think that it definitely has potential to work. I've seen KYB, I've seen Kib honestly do the exact thing with Hanzo on Reunited side. So it's definitely something that works, and it's definitely something I think that a lot of teams can look at moving forward as, hey, this could be super cool to use on this point. I think King's Row first point is where a lot of these non-meta heroes have found their place, because there's just so many niche positions for all of them to hang out in.
And if you look into the NA scene too, I think a good example of that right now is actually Snow plays for Method, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I kept wanting to say Sody Pop, but no, it's definitely Method because that's Grim Reality and Agilities. But yeah, so Snow is another really good example of they love to play Hanzo Point One. They love to play it. They played it before on the previous patch, and I believe that they did show it a little bit on the Alienware Monthly, which was paid on the new patch as well. So lots of stuff to be seen from them with that. So another team that you guys can go and check out and study in that respect for Hanzo, but. It's a good hero. It can work. It definitely can. But I agree with you. At the end of the day, he could have used Dragon Strikes a little bit more. They could have got a few more picks. It could have gone a little bit better. And if those would have happened, maybe they would have ended up taking it. But I don't want to take anything away from Mixx. That was absolutely very rock solid defense coming out of them. Especially, I mean, my voice is a little hoarse after that, but that was a hold of the ages, and chat was a little bit excited about that going into overtime. But I enjoyed that last point take, and if there's any thoughts that you want to close us with before we go to a short break, guys, to bring you the semifinals match between Gatekeepers and between the side of Mixx.